what do I very specifically mean by this kind of systems first, environment first approach? Okay, so for the last couple years, I've been doing variants of this kind of a talk, and one of the early variants I talked about was this thing I call the three things. And I believe that these three things are the absolute most fundamental precondition for being able to do Agile well. What are my absolute non-negotiables? Right, that's what I was thinking about. Because people need something simple to anchor on before they can start to build complexity. I would suggest that there's nothing in Scrum that actually works, if you're not doing these three things. Okay? And these three things for me are backlogs, teams, and working tested software. A backlog is a very specific thing. Right? It's user stories. They're written in a certain format. They're like a day or two or three big. We can do a handful of them in a sprint. They have this canonical form. They have this way that we collaborate around them. And most of the time when I see organizations trying to adopt Agile, either for lack of having a product owner, or lack of being able to get consensus, or lack of whatever, right? Very seldomly do I see teams with great backlogs. Every single thing breaks down if that team does not have clarity in the backlog. What organizations underestimate is the amount of time and energy that it takes for anybody to produce a backlog with that level of granularity. So what they do is they give up and they say, okay, team, you just go figure it out, do something. The next thing that I want to point out is the notion of teams. We use the word team very, very loosely, right? It's just a named group of people that are kind of assigned to something. But a team in Agile is different, right? A team in Agile is a group of 6 to 8 people that work together side by side. They swarm around it. But if on the whole, that team does not have the ability to produce what's in the backlog, you know what's going to happen? They're never going to stabilize velocity. The problem with malformed teams is that when you have teams that don't stay together and can't get to a definition of done, they stop believing that they can. The root of the problem is the fact that the team has too many pieces necessary to deliver that don't exist within its team. We know how this is supposed to work, right? We know the size of the backlog, we know the velocity of the team, or at least we're supposed to. So we can start to derive scope, duration, cost, things like that, okay? And so if I don't have a team that stays together, I will never stabilize velocity. And if I can't stabilize velocity, I'm never going to have any idea of when I'm going to be done. The third piece is we have to make sure that we can get to a reasonable definition of done at the end of the sprint. So we need to know what done looks like. We need to be able to test. We need to be able to validate. I'm not saying we have to go as far in every case to be able to deploy into production, but we have to be able to say, look, this is done and we don't have to go back and rework it anymore. This to me is like what Scrum is totally predicated on. If I know the size of my backlog and I know the velocity of the team, then I can start to anticipate how far that I'm going to get through the backlog within a predetermined number of sprints, or how many sprints it's going to take to get through the backlog.